On this edition for Sunday, July 18th, COVID cases climb as vaccination rates remain stagnant. In our signature segment, fleeing Belarus after a brutal crackdown.
I don't wanna be funny anymore.
And indie rock singer-songwriter Lucy Dacus, next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wackenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, the Leonard and Norma Clorfine Foundation, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular has been offering no-contract wireless plans designed to help people do more of what they like. Our U.S.-based customer service team can help find a plan that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Additional support has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The steady increase in new coronavirus cases and slowdowns in vaccination rates are confronting the Biden administration and local governments with new challenges. In Los Angeles County, masks are again required in public indoor spaces. The sheriff there says he will not enforce the rule. Asked why everyone needs a mask if 52% of the county's residents are vaccinated, the chair of the county's Board of Supervisors said it's necessary.
I would say that it's not punishment, it's prevention. We still have 4 million people out of 10 million that haven't been vaccinated.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention continues to recommend that masks are not necessary for vaccinated people. Today, the Surgeon General defended that decision.
They gave communities and individuals the flexibility to make decisions about what to do with masks. Now, in areas where there are low numbers of vaccinated people or where cases are rising, it's very reasonable for counties to take more mitigation measures.
New cases of the coronavirus are rising nationally, with the more contagious Delta variant driving many outbreaks in areas with low vaccination rates. Globally, there are now close to 190 million reported cases since the COVID-19 pandemic began. The New York Times reports that the pandemic's epicenter is now in Indonesia, where the average number of new cases is more than 48,000 a day. Hospitals are overwhelmed and supplies are so low that patients are bringing in their own oxygen tanks. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is self-isolating after coming into contact with the country's health secretary, who tweeted yesterday that he tested positive for the virus. The UK is set to lift COVID restrictions tomorrow on what is being called Freedom Day. In Tokyo, 2 Olympic athletes in the Olympic Village tested positive for COVID-19. Officials say the opening ceremony scheduled for Friday will go on as planned. And in Saudi Arabia, the Hajj pilgrimage began with 60,000 vaccinated residents of the country allowed to participate. Before the pandemic, as many as 2.5 million Muslims from around the world performed the 5-day pilgrimage. The death toll in Western Europe rose to more than 185 after torrential storms and massive floods devastated the region. Today, more flash flooding in southern and eastern Germany killed at least 1 person. The country's death toll is now more than 155. In western Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel called the floods terrifying and promised government assistance in rebuilding.
Germany is a strong country, and we will stand up to this force of nature in the short term, but also in the medium and long term, through policy that pays more regard to nature and the climate than we did in recent years. That will be necessary, too.
Germany's finance minister said the country will provide over $350 million in immediate relief and billions more to repair the damage from the floods. In Austria, flash floods hit a town near Salzburg last night. No injuries were reported, but nearby areas remain on alert as more rain is expected. Dry weather and extreme heat are driving the spread of huge wildfires across the western United States today. In Northern California, the Tamarack Fire just south of Lake Tahoe grew quickly last night. It now covers 32 square miles, threatening the nearby town of Markleeville. The rapidly spreading fire, caused by a lightning strike on July 4th, has forced evacuations and the cancellation of a 103-mile bike ride through the Sierra Nevada mountains. Authorities say that at least 3 structures have been destroyed in that blaze. The nation's largest wildfire, the Bootleg Fire in southern Oregon, also grew overnight, but firefighters have made progress containing it. Evacuations are underway in the largely rural area. Meteorologists are warning critically dangerous fire conditions will continue in the region at least through tomorrow. In Washington, D.C. last night, a baseball game between the San Diego Padres and the Washington Nationals came to an abrupt stop when gunshots were heard near the stadium. Police say 3 people were injured in a shooting outside Nationals Park, causing fans inside to seek cover and evacuate. The game was in the 6th inning when the sound of loud pops created confusion and fans started to scramble for cover. Some people took refuge in team dugouts, others fled the stadium. Announcements urged calm and broadcast a message saying the shots were coming from outside and to stay in the stadium. Police said 3 people were injured in the shooting. 2 are suspects. The third is a woman who was attending the game but was outside the stadium. All are expected to recover. More than 24 people were hospitalized after suffering from skin irritation and breathing problems from exposure to chemicals at a water park near Houston, Texas yesterday. Local officials said more than 60 people were decontaminated using water from fire trucks after being exposed to a combination of bleach and sulfuric acid at Six Flags Hurricane Harbor Splashtown. The chemicals are used to clean and maintain the pH balance of the water at the park. The exposure occurred at a children's wading pool. Authorities say they don't believe the leak was caused intentionally, but the park remains closed as an investigation continues. Martine Moise, the wife of slain President Jovenel Moise, returned to Haiti late yesterday following her release from a Miami hospital. The First Lady, who was injured in a July 7th assassination attack, arrived at Port-au-Prince Airport wearing a black bulletproof vest and with her arm in a sling. She was greeted by officials, including interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph. Joseph is running the country in spite of Jovenel Moise's announcement one day before his death, designating politician Ariel Henry as Prime Minister. Investigations are ongoing in what is described as a sprawling plot to kill the president involving Haitians, Haitian Americans, and about 24 former Colombian soldiers. Officials announced that the funeral for Prime Minister Moise will be held on Friday in the northern city of Cap-Haitien. Martine Moise is expected to attend. For the latest national and international news, visit pbs.org/newshour. The landslide victory of President Alexander Lukashenko in Belarus last year ushered in his 6th term and more than a quarter decade of control for the authoritarian leader. Claims of a flawed election drew mass demonstrations, with thousands of protesters imprisoned. Thousands more have been fleeing to neighboring countries, including Poland and Lithuania, crossing into the EU illegally and with great risk to themselves. NewsHour Weekend Special Correspondent Simon Ostrovsky traveled to Lithuania near the Belarusian border to tell their stories. His reporting is done with support from the Pulitzer Center.
Vilnius, Lithuania's capital. It's just 20 miles from the border with authoritarian Belarus to the east, but this EU member state might as well be on another planet.
Okay, here's the plan. You walk down the road and look for a black car.
Artyom, whose name we've changed, is a smuggler. He helps dissidents wanted by the Belarusian regime over the new Iron Curtain that surrounds Belarus in the aftermath of last year's contested election that led to sweeping protests and a brutal crackdown.
Don't rush so you don't make any noise. You only start running if you see that you're being chased.
Understood.
Okay.
Today, he's coordinating the escape of 2 protesters wanted by police who face lengthy prison sentences. He's allowed NewsHour Weekend to record his remote meeting with one of them, 20-year-old Dmitry Lisichik, who's been hiding from the authorities in Belarus for over a month. Lithuania is now home to over 2,000 political exiles from Belarus who fled the regime, including Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, believed by many to have won a widely contested presidential election last August, an election that her husband had planned to run in, but who was instead arrested ahead of the vote and remains in prison to this day.
This understanding that my husband is suffering, that thousands of people are being tortured in jail, turns into energy that don't let me stop. And I'm doing what I can on my place, the same as every person in Belarus or who is in exile doing what they can.
Lysychik, who's accused of organizing partisan activities, hopes to join the ranks of those who are in exile. But he'll have to evade Belarusian border patrols and walk through thick forests in a segment of the border that isn't fenced off first.
I feel like I have to be composed and careful, but I'm not scared. I'm not about to stick my head in the sand. No good will come out of the fact that I'll land in jail here, or in the ground, or in a wheelchair.
Belarus's other neighbors have also taken in thousands of refugees over the course of the last year as the regime of Alexander Lukashenko imprisoned over 550 people who spoke out against an election they believed was rigged in his favor.
The number of jailed journalists is growing, and no journalist can feel safe at the moment being in Belarus.
Press Club Belarus is a media organization that's fled to Poland after its founder, Yulia Slutskaya, and 3 other staff members were jailed on reports of trumped-up tax charges. Now it's celebrating its 10-year anniversary in exile.
We are Press Club Belarus, and unfortunately, we are still without Yulia. And we really hope that Yulia will be able to join us sooner than we think, and be able to celebrate this birthday with us.
Natasha Belikova has stepped in as acting director, while Slutskaya awaits trial.
Currently, 26 journalists are imprisoned in Belarus for doing their job. Some, like my colleagues, they're awaiting trial to begin. Others have already been through trial, like 2 journalists from Belsat, and they have been sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment for simply doing their job, for reporting from a rally.
Lukashenko has been willing to go to extreme lengths to retain his grip on power.
Our enemies from outside and inside the country have changed their methods of attacking the state. In the near future, we will show you and society as a whole everything they have said, including those who have recently been arrested.
In May, a commercial passenger jet flying from Greece to Lithuania was diverted to Belarus after Minsk air traffic control reported a possible bomb threat on board. The goal was to arrest this man. His crime? Running a popular online chat group that organized protests against Lukashenko's regime. Like many detainees, he was paraded on state television and forced to make a confession.
I just hope that I'll be able to fix everything and live a normal life. Start a family, kids, stop running from something. I'm sorry.
A confession that was presumably coerced, given the bruises on his wrists. But Belarusian dissidents are determined to go to lengths that are no less extreme in order to get out of the country. Like Andrei Susha. In the spring of last year, the authorities charged him over an online post critical of police officials and coerced a confession.
He came under the influence of destructive Telegram channels and wrote an offensive comment.
I apologize for my actions, and I am remorseful for what I did.
He faced up to 4 years in prison for the charges stemming from the post in which he called a police officer a bastard. But after making his confession, officials added another charge, threatening police officers, which carries an additional 5-year maximum sentence.
Парашютист, у меня где-то там около 1300 прыжков с парашютом. Я люблю авиацию.
I'm a parachutist. I've jumped around 1,300 times. I love aviation, and 2 years ago I purchased this paraglider and started flying with it, just for fun.
Susha decided to turn a hobby into an exit plan.
Я решил бежать.
I decided to run. I flew into Lithuania and landed. I walked over to the nearest house and asked them to call the police. They called them out, and I said, "That's it, I'm giving myself up. I want asylum." That's how I ended up here.
Facing a growing migrant crisis on their borders, Lithuanian and EU officials have been alarmed by what is taking place in Belarus. But Deputy Foreign Minister Mantas Adomėnas told NewsHour Weekend his government was sympathetic to the plight of Belarusian asylum seekers.
I cannot condone, but I cannot also in any way blame them, because when you are faced with this whole fury of this mad regime, you will want to get out one way or the other.
Tsikhanouskaya, the leader of the opposition movement, told NewsHour Weekend that she was grateful for the sanctions imposed on Belarus by the EU and the United States, but urged the international community to do more to help Belarusians caught up in the crackdown.
Our end goal is organizing of new elections in Belarus, free and transparent under observation of international organizations. But of course, before this, our task is to release all political prisoners. So this is step by step. We have to put pressure on the regime inside country, outside country, to start this dialogue, to release political prisoners.
Remember Dmitry Lysychik, who we saw earlier in a video conference call planning his escape from Belarus? We're headed to an undisclosed location just a mile from the Belarusian border, where he's planning to cross by foot. Smugglers on the Belarusian side have told us the approximate hour that he's due to depart, and we calculate that he should arrive by 1 a.m. By 2 a.m., we start to worry that something's gone wrong. Border patrols on the Belarusian side have been increased due to the high number of illegal crossings. Another nail-biting hour passes. Then, finally, he emerges from the darkness.
Welcome to Lithuania.
So this is everything that Dmitry brought with him, just one bag pack. He's wearing all black clothing, and his entire waist down is wet from walking across a canal to get here to the Lithuanian side. And now we're just making sure that his documents that he's going to need in order to be able to get asylum here haven't got wet.
Soon, a Lithuanian border patrol arrives. After equipping Dmitry with PPE, he makes his claim for asylum.
What is the purpose of your arrival here?
I want political asylum.
Lysychik's journey has ended, but thousands of other Belarusians remain in hiding. More than 500 are being held as political prisoners. Without concerted outside pressure on the regime and its backer Russia, those behind bars are likely to remain there indefinitely, and those seeking asylum will only add to Europe's growing new migrant crisis.
As a young up-and-coming artist, indie rock singer-songwriter Lucy Dacus has already gained critical acclaim for her albums No Burden, released in 2016, and Historian in 2018. With lyrics that have been described as confessional songwriting, she's drawn on her own life for inspiration. Her latest album, Home Video, released last month, is being called a coming-of-age memoir of sorts, reflecting on her adolescence with some of her most personal artistic expressions so far. NewsHour Weekend's Christopher Booker has more.
Heavy memories weighing on my brain.
There's a tricky serenity in the music of Lucy Dacus. Whether singing about her religious childhood spent in Richmond, Virginia, or how she's making her way through the broader world today, the calmness of her delivery never seems to waver.
For a long time, I think I was just good talking about people in general, like tropes, and I didn't really find use in talking about myself, or it felt selfish, or how could anyone relate to this since it was just my life? I don't want to take up space unless it's meaningful.
But after 3 solo albums, her most recent Home Video was released last month, and her part in Boy Genius, the indie rock supergroup with artists Phoebe Bridgers and Julian Baker, the 26-year-old has emerged as someone who actually has a lot of meaningful things to say, and a gift for saying them, an ability that in part can be traced to the journals she kept as a child.
I was given my first journal, I think in kindergarten, and it has a printed out laminated sign on it that says this is your diary. You can say whatever you want in here. All of your thoughts are your own. This is your space, and nobody can tell you what to do. I was yes, I can do whatever I want.
Home Video is an album written largely from entries pulled from those journals. Her songs paint vivid scenes of the places she inhabited as a young person and offer snapshots of how she navigated her youth.
Is there an order? Do you find yourself coming up with a riff first, or are you coming up with the lyrics first, or is it changed from time to time?
It's always lyrics, and usually lyrics and melody at the same time. Like I'll be on a walk and just sing to myself and kind of refine. I don't know much about music. I've never taken music classes. I play in like an open tuning, so I just kind of find the sounds that I want on the guitar. I don't know what chords I'm playing a lot of the time. I love music, but I don't feel like a musician. The lyrics do really matter to me, and like the stories matter, so the form is less important.
This story-first approach has attracted a cavalry of attention from critics, calling Home Video a brilliant coming-of-age memoir, and others referring to her as one of rock's best pens. These songwriting abilities allow her to explore the uncomfortable, the unpleasant, and in the case of her song Thumbs, the painful. A song written about an encounter from college when she accompanied a friend as that friend met with her estranged father.
I said you don't have to see him, but for whatever reason you can tell him no.
But to label Dacus as some dark, brooding songwriter who only peddles in sadness is inaccurate. She is at the core a young musician working to understand the world with refreshing honesty. An honesty coupled with her songwriting capabilities that has endeared Dacus to so many. But the accolades and attention seem to have little impact on that serenity that sits in the center of it all.
I really like the idea of a song having a more exciting life than me. You don't know who wrote hymns most of the time. I love any song that could exist without its writer.
Why do you think you have that attitude?
Like, why am I able to want to let go like that? Because I know I'll have to. So it's almost like I have to get ready now in order to feel really grateful for anything that happens. I do feel really grateful every day for like where I get to go and what I get to do, and that stems from the fact that I realize that I don't necessarily deserve it, and like nobody really does. Also, like I don't feel the pressure to share everything that I make. So like I'll write a bunch of songs that I don't show anybody and those are for me. And so when I like decide to share a song, it's on purpose.
This is PBS NewsHour Weekend, Sunday.
Finally tonight, a United Nations study estimates 8 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans every year, making plastic and human-generated trash pollution one of the most enormous environmental threats on the planet. But several companies are now tackling the problem with relatively small robotic vehicles that can sweep up garbage from the world's waters. NewsHour Weekend's Yvette Feliciano has more.
It's remote-controlled, just over 2 feet long, and enjoys a diet of plastic bags, bottles, and, let's just say it, garbage. Meet the jellyfish bot.
I came up with the idea because I've been diving underwater since I was little, and I've always seen areas that are quite dirty. I've always seen manual methods, people carrying nets to collect trash, and I've told myself, I have a doctorate in underwater robotics. And when I finished my doctorate, I thought, why not make this quite tedious and thankless work of collecting trash easier?
The trash-collecting robot vessel is now clearing debris in more than a dozen French ports and in several other countries.
To collect trash, you have to do something as simple as possible, because otherwise, if we put complicated mechanisms, it can get blocked, and things get stuck in the system. We designed the robot with a slide mechanism that goes towards a net, so we fill up the net, we take back the net, and that's the end of it.
The electric radio-controlled vessel can get about 21 gallons of waste in its net. The Jellybot is one of several trash-collecting robots designed for use on the water. This one, called Fred, is being developed in San Diego, and the Waste Shark is at work in the Netherlands. The goal is still to get human beings to use less plastic and keep trash out of the oceans. In the meantime, the robotic trash collectors are doing their part.
That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. For the latest news updates, visit pbs.org/newshour. I'm Sreenivasan. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and have a good night.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wackenheim III, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, the Anderson Family Fund, the estate of Worthington Mayo Smith, the Leonard and Norma Clorfine Foundation, the Rosalind P. Walter Foundation, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg. We try to live in the moment, to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments. Additional support has been provided by Consumer Cellular and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
You're watching PBS.